Breaking the gray.
Welcome to the Rebel Scientist Podcast. On today's episode, Sarah is going to talk about her favorite topic, the healing power of red light. Here we go. All right, welcome back. We are back. Sarah is here. Wanted to just welcome everyone back to another fantastic episode of Rebel Science with our lead rebel scientist, Sarah Turner. We are incredibly excited today because we get to go deep into a topic that I think is near and dear to Sarah's heart and her brain. And we're going to talk about light, but specifically red light. And no, not that red light, the other red light. We're going to get focused on it and talk about its restorative nature, what it is, and really dive deep into it. So, Sarah, welcome.
Thank you, Russ. Good to be here.
Great to have you. So let's dive in. Let's talk about light in general. So, we were just talking earlier about fluorescent lights in the office and how disruptive it is. What can light do as a benefit? I'm super curious.
Yeah, well, like you said, this is one of my favorite topics because I think it's something that's got such huge potential. And really, when you think about it, we are creatures that have evolved under light. We've evolved underneath the sun. And so it makes sense that light would have a profound effect on our biology. And what we're going to talk about today is a very narrow range of the electromagnetic spectrum of light, which is the red light, red and near infrared light, actually.
So let's talk about light, just light in general. So as early humans on this planet, we had the sun, and we didn't have any other light. There was fire, there was light. When we started to introduce these other types of lights, what were the effects on the brain? What was the impact early on? I mean, we don't know because it's probably a bit prehistory, but what were some of the effects on the brain when you started having natural and unnatural light kind of entering your nighttime?
Yeah, well, this is very, very interesting when you look at evolution, because really we've got humans have kind of evolved, like you say, with not much artificial light for really like 200,000 years or more. And now all of a sudden, in the last few hundred years, with the advent of electricity, we now find ourselves living mainly actually under artificial light. And I think really the profound effect of this is only just beginning to be elucidated because, all the excitement of the Industrial Revolution, and yes, we have light and all the wonderful things it brings, we're only now starting to look at some of the positive, negative effects that also has of us being exposed pretty much constantly to artificial lights.
Let's go over the negatives first, because let's get the bad stuff out first. What are some of the negatives with artificial light?
Well, we have clocks in our bodies that helps our bodies to know when it's day or night. And these clocks is how we tune our circadian rhythms. And our circadian rhythms are pretty important for functioning. It enables us to know when it's daytime, when we need to do daytime activities, when we need to procreate, look for carbohydrates, all of those kinds of things, and when we need to sleep and restore. And one of the major detrimental effects of the artificial light is that circadian rhythm, or that clock that we have inside us, becomes disrupted. And that can lead to all kinds of health benefits. And if we're talking about the brain, things like depression, brain fog, it sets ourselves up for some chronic health problems later down the line when you have a constant mismatch between what your body thinks or what your body intuits and what's actually the environment outside. So this is one of the major negative effects, is that you have this mismatch with your circadian rhythm. And the other thing that's really coming out now and it's getting a lot of press lately is blue light toxicity. I think, if you look at the stats, most households have got, at least one screen each, if not two, in some cases 3 or 4 screens per person that people are looking at all the time, phones, tablets and smart TVs. And every time you look at a screen, you are kind of shining blue light into your eyes. And this, again, has a detrimental effect both on the cells in your eyes, but also on the way that your body interprets that message in that, okay, it's day. What do I need to do? Let's say normally what mammals do in the middle of the day is feed and look for carbohydrates. And this could be like the start of why we're seeing a lot of obesity, especially in the Western world where we have access to these screens, is because our bodies are getting the wrong signal and we're doing things, we're eating at the wrong times of day and we're eating too much, really, because that's the message we're getting from these screens.
That we're not really turning the light off, right? So because we have this blue light toxicity, then that means that we're not really ever teaching our body that it's time to cycle down, that we're kind of always staying cycled on because of the nature of the phones and the computers and TVs that are kind of giving us that light.
That's right. And blue light actually does change the cells too. It's not just it's not just the messaging. There is an actual physiological effect. And it, it can damage the cells of the eyes, which, the backs of the retina are actually attached to the brain. It can have a lot of knock-on effects. One from a point of view of, yes, your rhythms are knocked out, but also from a physiological point of view, there is damage that's caused too.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly interesting to know, because I think I know there's a lot of studies out there. Are there studies or things that kind of the general audience can reference in understanding that the dangers of that, I guess, and knowing that, there are some techniques to, go into night mode and things like that on your phone and kind of getting those out there? Are there things that good reference points for people?
Yeah, well, blue light toxicity, like I say, that's one of the ones that now is more widely known. And you can Google blue light toxicity and it will come up with, a lot of information. There's a chap that I follow who's written something called the Blue Light Diet. That's a good one to follow, because not only does he take you through everything that leads to blue light toxicity, but he also helps you understand how you can mitigate that. Like I say, I'm a fan of biohacking, and I know this is the topic of one of our podcasts, but there are a lot of resources from people like the Biohackers Summit and also Dave Asprey's group in California. And again, there's a lot of useful resources on those groups that talk about blue light toxicity and what you can do to mitigate with very simple things, like you can wear special glasses, blue light blocking glasses in the evening. You can change your light bulbs. You can reduce your screen time. These are very simple things that you can do to help prevent the damage and the mismatch that we talked about from blue light. So, yeah, there are a lot of resources out there on that particular subject.
Yeah, and we'll do a good job of getting all of that up in front of everyone, too, so they can have access to that. So I'm curious about your experience then. So let's walk through the story of kind of your experience with light and kind of the effects it's had on you.
Yeah, well, I was in California. So I was living in California for a while, and I came up against the biohackers groups and started to use some of the principles. And what I found was, there's a lot of gadgets, there's a lot of tech, but one of the simplest things that you can do for your health is to do something very simple, and that's see sunrise. And that's something that I've then integrated into my life. And I think that's probably one of my biggest health hacks, from a point of view of something very low tech, very low cost, and easy to do, that will then help you retrain this kind of lost circadian rhythm that we have. So that was one of my major starting points, is trying to, one, see the sunrise, and to make sure that I get sunlight exposure. But also you can hear I'm obviously from Britain, so I'm no stranger to kind of living without the sun for a period of time. And in those cases, there are ways that you can substitute sunlight in a way. And that's where the red light therapy devices come in.
Interesting. I too live in a microclimate fog bank. So I'm interested how to do this, because I think we'd all love to get up early and see the sunrise. I think that's a great advice. But let's talk about the red light itself, and let's dive into it. I'm curious then how you found it, and then sort of how it became an area of study for you.
Yes. So when you start to delve into sunlight and the profound effect it has on the body, it's really an eye opener. To me, it's a complete revelation, because the body is covered in red light receptors. We talked about the eye and how, obviously light gets in the eye, but actually you may be surprised to know that the skin is covered in red light receptors. Your blood is full of red light receptors. Water actually is a red light receptor, which, as we know, we're about 70% water or more. So actually, this is something that probably has a greater effect on health than anything else. And dare I say it, maybe even than food, because of the way that our biology is geared up. So then taking this information and then using it to modify your physiology is a branch of science called photobiomodulation, which is simply like photo as in light, bio as in biology, and modulating that biology with light. So there are a lot of different devices now on the market you can buy, mainly panels that you put on the wall that will emit red and near infrared light. There are some handheld devices, there are some laser devices, and some sort of research experimental transcranial devices too. So there's a lot of technology now that's making use of this very important biological fact of life that we respond so well to red light.
Yeah, I having met you and learning more about it and doing research, it's definitely the rage. I know that like supermodel Bella Hadid and athletes are doing this, and I think in terms of things that you can do, some of the basic things you can do in your day-to-day life, taking morning walks probably is helpful, but kind of using infrared, is it like as easy as using like infrared light bulbs and putting those in your home? Are there things that you can do to kind of as a beginner stage of this?
Yes, you need to kind of have a little bit of an understanding of how light works. And it's very simple. You just need to follow the sun. So if you think about the sun in the morning, the sun, when you see the sunrise, it's fairly red. And then in the middle of the day, you have bright, kind of almost white sunlight. And then as the sun goes down, it goes red again. So you want to kind of follow that exposure. So in the morning, you might want to wake up with red light, but you don't want to have red light on throughout the whole day, because, we need to have that kind of blue light in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And then you can have like red light bulbs on in your home in the evening and sort of after dark, so that you reduce that blue light toxicity we're talking about. But the devices are something, they're much more targeted, they're much more high power. And you actually either stand up against them or you kind of have them flush against your skin, specifically for a therapeutic reason, usually. So, like say, I use a device. I'm specifically using it because I want to keep a good brain. But yes, you're right. Because of the way it works on all kinds of different systems in the body, people are using it for different things. So it's kind of, I don't know. It seems like a bit of a panacea. It's just because the way that it works on a fundamental aspect of the body that's giving your body energy.
That makes a lot of sense. So there's actually like a physical touch of it. So because what you mentioned about having receptors all over your body, it's not just, it's not just seeing the light and for your eyes, but it's also feeling it and being close to it.
That's right. And like you say, it has different applications because it targets the cells where you have the light. So, people are now using it, like you say, people are using it on the face to help with collagen production and to help sort of anti-aging. Because when you shine it in the face, the skin cells are the ones that take up the light, and then you have this kind of rejuvenating effect. If you have an injury, then you can put it where you have the injury, and the cells where you're targeting that light well, again, they're the ones that will take up the light, and that's where you'll get the greatest effect.
It's
So
fascinating.
that's why you find, a range of people.
It is. Because there's also this other side, which we won't talk about today, which is, cryotherapy, which is like, putting cold and ice on your body and blasting cold. And I have a daughter who plays sports, and she uses it quite often for her ankles. So we'll talk about that at a different time, but like, it's almost like cold and heat almost have similar restorative natures, or light and cold have similar restorative natures.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, again, this is a very primal thing that we're talking about. We are designed to be exposed to extremes of heat and cold, and we're designed to be exposed to light. So, these are very kind of primitive, basic responses that we have that we can use to our benefit.
Yeah, it is amazing. I think there's a part of this too. So, we hear a lot about the sun and the damaging nature of the sun versus the restorative nature of the sun. So, I imagine there's some things about the sun which, skin cancers and things like that. Are there? Should we? How do we deal with kind of those conflicting natures of the nature of sunlight?
Yeah, well, there has been a lot about what I call a demonization of the sun, especially now. And I think a lot of that has to do with suntan cream marketing boards, but also a misunderstanding of how the sun works, because red light is actually very protective to the skin and actually protects the skin against UV damage, which is what you're talking about. The UV damage is what's connected to melanoma, skin cancer.
Yeah.
However, if you expose yourself to morning sunlight and your body gets that red light, you already set up this protective mechanism that makes you better able to withstand the sun at midday. And so, again, this is a revelation to me. And since I discovered this fact, I have thrown away all of my sun creams, and I don't use them at all. Even when I'm out in Thailand or California or wherever, I don't use them anymore. I just use that healing power of the sun at the start of the day. And also, the more you're out in the sun, the more your body upregulates the enzymes and the biomolecules that it needs to deal with the sun.
Yeah.
So I think skin cancers and things, there's a lot of fear around it. But I think if you start to understand how the sun works, you can modify your own physiology so that you are able to be out in the sun without getting burned or without kind of setting your skin up for damage. It's the people who, we're in for the whole year, and in 2 weeks of the year, that's it. Yeah. You're out in the sun, and so you're there at midday. That's the way to damage your skin with the sun. But gradually building up a tolerance to the sun, you can do it safely. I think, like I say, we've been fed a lot of misinformation about that connection.
Yeah, we are definitely living in a world of that. And I think it's important. I think it's important for the facts and the specialists and those that study this all day long to have a voice and really, get it out there. And I think you said something really important, and it's, it's the tolerance of the sun is actually activated. And maybe there's something, and I'm imagining that it's the activation nature of the red light that is important here. And are there devices or the things that actually can help accelerate that activation? So maybe the mornings are tough for you, but are there things that, like, devices that you can buy or use that activate that?
Yeah, you can. All of these red light devices you can use to help almost like train your body to be able to be out in the sun more, because red light has been shown to have a protective effect against the damage of UV. So integrating red light therapy into your daily routine, or at least, a few times a week, will be beneficial in, getting your body and getting your skin to be more able to be out in the sun. So yeah, definitely I would say, red light therapy devices, there's very few side effects because it is a more healing light, and there are a whole lot of benefits.
Is there anything around, and and I'm coming at this very, very naive. So if this question, you can check me on this question, but is there anything about skin type, the type of skin you have? Maybe you have more, you have darker skin, you have lighter skin. Are there things about the type of skin that change the activation process in red light?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the color of your skin will have a huge effect on the amount of light that the body can absorb. So you have, they're called a Fitzpatrick scale. So obviously you have people who have come from cold regions, or their ancestry is from cold regions, who have very, very pale skin. And then you have people from the equator who have very dark skin. And, that's for a reason. It's because, dark skin is an adaptation to the sun, or actually it's the other way around. White skin was an adaptation to being in these kind of snowy climates. So the darker your skin, the more light you will need to get the same effect.
Yeah.
So it's because you have a pigment in the dark skin is caused by a pigment, melanin. And so that is activated by light. And again, that's another photoreceptor. But however, I think even people with very pale skin can also be out in the sun if they follow a correct procedure where they prime their skin first with the red light. But certainly skin pigmentation does have an effect for the amount of light. So you will need to kind of do a bit of research and adjust, the amount of red light you have for your pigmentation. But regardless, everybody with whatever your pigmentation should be getting some sunlight every day. Yeah,
no, that's fascinating, and this is amazing research you've done. And I'm curious if you were to kind of leave us with three things that you feel are the most important things to take away around red light. What would those be?
Okay, so my most important one that I always say is try and see the sunrise. I know it's difficult for some people, and for me, like I say, sometimes it's difficult not because I have to get up early, but because I have to delay my day. Because, here in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm in Holland now, but in the UK also, as it gets to midwinter, it means you have to not see any other light until about 9 o'clock in the morning. However, if you can do that, and it does take a bit of practice, that's the number one health benefit. Number two is to invest in some kind of red light device, red and near infrared if possible. We didn't talk about the difference between red and near infrared, and I think we'll get into that in another podcast. But investing in a reputable device, either a panel or a handheld, that's another thing that you can do. And number three is maybe just to educate yourself a little bit about the sun, because I think there is a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of fear around being out in the sun. But if you can look at some of these primal websites, look at some evolutionary biology, even just a little bit, and see, or even self-experimentation. I mean, really, that's the bottom line of science, or rebel science, is actually doing it. Yeah. And see if you can build up a little bit of a solar callus, like an ability to be out in the sun. Build it up bit by bit and see how you feel. I mean, there's the test.
Yeah, I think you and I need to rename our podcast "Applied Rebel Science."
Yes,
the application of one area that I wanted to see. Are there any names of devices? We'll get all these links and put them up for everyone. But are there names of devices or things that or ones that you prefer? Things on Amazon you can get.
So the ones that you can buy some on that tend to be underpowered. So the device, goodness me, there's a lot of devices. I personally have got one called FlexBeam, which is from Recharge. I've got neoprene pads and things from a company called NeuroCare. Jube is also a reputable brand. Red Light Rising, Gemba Red, Platinum LED. These are all companies that you can kind of Google and look at that sell either panels or the handheld devices. Most of them now sell like smaller travel panels, which are really cool. Like I say, the FlexBeam one that I've got from Recharge, that's handy because it's a travel one that you can take with you. But the panels are also good. So yeah, there's a few companies there, but maybe we'll put it in the show notes, like a list of ones that are got good ratings.
We will definitely do that. So 3 takeaways: see the sun, get out, go enjoy your morning in the sun, invest in some red light or near infrared light devices, educate yourself about the sun, probably know your skin, understand your skin, and maybe we can put up a few resources around like how to understand the type of skin you have as well, because it's different. And I think that's incredible information. It's a great intro into a very, very important and large topic that we're going to spend more time with as we continue our journey down Rebel Science with our lovely Rebel scientist, Sarah Turner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Russ.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
The Rebel Scientist Podcast is a Breaking the Gray production. Created by Russ Eisenman and Paul Wood. Hosted by Sarah Turner. Music and sound editing by Logan Shea. For more information and other fantastic podcasts, visit breakingthegray.com. That's gray with an E. breakingthegray.com.
Breaking